Hello and welcome to the channel. As you can see here, I have purchased an Aqua2go Kross mobile pressure washer from a company called Rose Bikes in Germany. This valued at £263 when I bought this, and as you can see, it's come in a week and a few days after I purchased it. So the point of this video is to see whether mobile pressure washers can be used in more an urban environment, for example living on a 3-story flat and having to clean a car at the bottom, and going through the usual durability, pricing, and all in all out review of the product. As you can see, it comes in a Ninja Turtle green, which I think looks really cool. When it's all put together, it generally looks pretty badass. As you can see, there are warning labels on the back, specifically implying not to squirt fat people or animals, which is quite right. As you can see, the knife I use to open these boxes is a blunt Fisher-Price My First knife. One day I will get a proper knife and stop embarrassing myself. So in the other box, apart from a battery, the charger, you get 3 attachments. One which is a brush, which allows water to come out the center, probably good for guttering or things like that. The other 2 nozzle attachments, one is for have a circular water spread, which is good for a large area coverage of water, and the other one goes from a very a pinpoint spread similar to just a normal hose, and then it turns and spreads into like a fine wall arc, so you can maybe spread and go for windows or things like that. As you can see, it comes with a manual, which you won't read. Unfortunately, no stickers or anything fun, just seems to be quite German and straightforward and efficient. So the pressure washer comes with wheels located on the back, as well as a handle, so you can kind of drag the unit across the floor quite easily. Providing the surface isn't too bumpy, it tends to work okay. The battery is a 40-volt lithium-ion battery, which generates about 220 volts, which is quite powerful for any portable device. The water tank holds about 35 litres, which in theory should be just enough to clean a car. So the lance seems to be really sturdy. Everything seems to connect quite easily, and even the attachments snap onto the top quite well. So there we have it, the finished piece. I'd say it looks quite impressive. So now to test the product to see if it can meet my expectations. Now, living in the 3rd floor of an apartment block and bringing the unit down by a lift, the route is bumpy as the floor is made of wooden planks, as you can see, and right at the bottom there's a pavement which drops down to the roadside. So this could be quite common for people living in town or city or even apartment blocks. So getting this all the way down without losing water or any attachments could be quite tricky, so we'll see how we go. So filling up the unit is quite challenging. I found the bucket wouldn't fit in my kitchen sink and the tap wouldn't reach towards the centre of the bucket so water would fill in, nor the sink in the bathroom would work, so I had to resort to using the shower head to fill up the unit. You could fill it up by transferring water backward and forward using a cup or a larger bucket, but once this thing starts filling up with water, it gets really heavy. I recommend finding the lowest height you can put this on to then lift it off and then drop it or carry it to the floor. So after spraying myself multiple times and soaking the bathroom floor, it was time to take it out for a walk. One thing I noticed is now the unit is very heavy and is now wobbling due to the water. I can already feel the water drip out from where the lid connects to the bucket, and we still have a long way to go. So as we can see, I lost about 3 inches of water there. Not good. So after a quick refill and connecting all the parts, I'm now ready to give it a test. So turning on the pressure washer, it starts pumping water through the hose and eventually balances, turning the pump off. So at this point you have water ready to go as soon as you click down the button on the lance. So here I am on the low setting, experimenting with the power. It may be hard for you to see, but the power you get on the low setting, it's average. It's not going to blow muck off your bicycle or a car for that matter. So I switched up to the high pressure, which is a different story. You almost get double the power, as you can see, as the muck on the forecourt gets pushed aside quite rapidly. So now I'm going to blast the whole car with water, and this will give you an idea of how powerful the pressure washer can be. I'll leave it up to you to make your own mind up. I'm going to go around the entire car and remove any sort of dust, visible dust I can see, as I would do with a normal pressure washer. So after blasting the entire car with water, I used the low setting for all of it, so I can really push it to the test. Most of the dirt, as usual, came off the car. The wheels, the pressure on the wheels, needed a bit more than just the water. This is going to need a brush and also some soap to get rid of that. But overall, it was quite impressive. I used very little water. Going back to the bucket, I can see I think I only used about 2 inches of the water, and I feel like I covered most of the car and got even in most of the small cracks and in the grooves as well. Bearing in mind this is a small car, if you're going to use something like a large 4x4 in a state, you might have your work cut out for you. So I gave up on using the brush quite quickly, as you can see. It wasn't generating really enough force to be useful for what I was trying to do. Also, I experimented with the soap with it as well. It doesn't generate any sort of suds, so I kind of leave that. I'll find a use for that another time. But for the car, I went to a lamb's wool mitt, which I soaked and then applied some soap to that, which as you can see I covered the whole car with, to move on to the next stage. Every now and then I would go back and rinse off the wool mitt and reapply some more soap, just to remove any grit or dust that could be on there, which can agitate the surface of the car. But I still had plenty of water left over to do this multiple times. So I went back and gave that little brush another go. I didn't feel like I gave it a proper crack last time. It got in quite deep into the grille at the front, but I'm pretty sure this is not what it's used for. I mean, it is handy as a brush to complement a main brush, but the results, it didn't do as good a job as I thought it would do. Now, considering how light this pressure washer is, you can really move it around quite quickly. Now at the moment I'm blasting off the remaining suds off the car, and it's doing a really good job. So here for the final stretch I used the full power of the pressure washer just to see how much of a difference it made. Considering how much power I had left, I could have used the full power on the entire car and probably about 3 or 4 further cars as well. It doesn't seem to use much battery life and left me with plenty left over. And for the finale, I gave that brush one more go for the wheels. The bristles on the brush don't go deep enough to get right in those grooves, which is why I brought a wheel cleaning tool, which you can get off eBay, which obviously does a lot better job. You can get right in there. And then finally the pressure washer just to finish off the wheel. So let's conclude. Now the things I don't like, the price being around £270 for these is really high for what you get. Although the quality of the product is good, I feel it'd be more suitable really around the under £200 mark. I mean, I got this from Germany and there wasn't any further costs for shipping, but when you look into how normal pressure washers are, around the £80 mark, you know, there's a big difference between those two prices. Other things I didn't like, the water spilling out the top is such a major design flaw. I can't believe the lid on top isn't more of a Tupperware style lid to seal in the water. Even on a flat surface I can see water dribbling out the seam where the lid and the bucket connects, which kind of, you know, ruins the whole purpose really. The wheels on the bottom are too small, and then one stone lodged in there and they bring the whole thing to a standstill. Considering how heavy this is, that's going to have a few problems along the way. So, things I like. The power is really surprising. I experimented further with the pressure washer on a bigger vehicle after this, and I didn't have hardly any problems blasting off any mud or even mould that was lodged tight in the window frames. It seemed to have blasted all of that out with plenty of water to spare. It seems like the battery life never ends. I mean, after finishing these two cars and I checked the battery sensor or the lighting, it had 3 out of 5 of the bars left of battery left. I mean, I could have spent a lot longer on those cars providing I had enough water available. The machine itself seems to be really high quality and durable, although that rattles around and bends and creaks. All the plastic and the attachment seems to be made of some really sturdy plastics. Even the lance, I almost thought the lance was made out of a kind of metal, but it wasn't. It was just a very solid plastic. So overall I'm really impressed. I mean, apart from the leaking and the problems connecting to things like interior taps and filling it up, you know, it can really almost rival a normal pressure washer, providing you tweak your tactics a little bit. So buying this, I recommend trying to find a way to seal the lid better if you can, and just be a little bit careful if you're going over bumpy surfaces. Try and purchase something that can connect the entry valve at the top to something in your kitchen, maybe a bit of hose that can that you connect to your tap from a bathroom and then feeds into the top, and then, you know, I think you're on your way. I think overall this is a very good product, and I like to see what else Aqua2go has.